Well, welcome back to the Dental Procurement Unplugged. I'm Rick Sis, the Chief Engagement Officer here at Dentira. And look, I'm so excited about our episode today. We're tackling a topic that may not always get talked about a lot, or maybe it does, but I think today I'm excited to bring on a guest that's bringing this topic from a different perspective. Right? We've met with different individuals in the procurement seat, but today I've got my friend Isak Molina from Young Innovations. Look, this guest that with ESOC today, we've worked together in the past. We've experienced what happens when procurement and vendors stop viewing each other as opponents and we just start working together towards shared goals. So today we're going to discuss that. Again, we've talked about this from the other perspective, but today we want to talk about it from the vendor perspective in that partnership. So again, I want to introduce my friend Isak Molina again with Young Innovations. He's on the west coast side of the country, and so maybe if you haven't met him, Isak, give us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Rick, thanks so much. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to connect with you. I've always loved working with you. So yes, like Rick said, my name is Isak Molina. I'm a director of sales for a company called Young Innovations. We're headquartered in Algonquin, Illinois, and we've been around 126 years. And I support 7 dealers and 40 DSOs, Texas to California, with a team of 4 that help me in that effort. Everything, by the way, that I say today is going to be a byproduct of my own thoughts and beliefs. In no ways am representing Young Innovations. So I'm just representing myself today, and I just want to make sure to make that disclaimer as well.
Yeah, no, it's perfect, and I can't wait to hear that perspective of what all you have to share. Isak's got some good stuff. As you can see, look, I'm thankful for his time from Texas to California, 40 DSOs, 40 people like me. Isak, I'm sorry, but you got it. You're knocking it out, man. You're knocking it out.
It's certainly exciting, and there's a lot of action,
Yeah.
a lot of things happen, a lot going on.
There's been a lot going on in dental for a while, which is why,
Yeah,
again, we wanted to make this podcast to be able to keep up with everything that's
yeah,
happening. And
this
so
is great.
let's dive in. But before I mentioned earlier, we've worked together in the past, you and I, in several different spots. But before we do that, Isak, I just want to hear your single perspective, Isak's perspective. When you hear the term vendor partnership, what does that actually mean to you?
So whenever I hear the word partnership included in any description, what it immediately means to me is a mutual concern by both parties for one another.
Mm,
So it's not just, me showing up to, give you the cheapest price and lowball everything I have to offer. But it really is about me showing up as a vendor with you, a procurement person, my partner, and really doing the best I can to listen, actively listen, which means confirming what I hear when you share what you need and what your headwinds and your pitfalls are, so that you understand that I'm listening, and all of that leads to building a foundation of trust.
mm.
So when I think of a vendor partnership, I'm thinking about a trusted relationship that sometimes can take time to build. Sometimes it happens real fast, like it did with you and I have some ideas why that might have happened as well. Doesn't always happen that way, but it's a trusted relationship focused on mutual needs and benefits.
Yeah. Well, now since you brought it up, I have to ask, and maybe you plan on hitting it later, but it's an important element. I like running fast, and I know there's a lot of people in my seat that do. What do you think really helped us maybe hit it off quickly and understand each other and have that shared perspective? What do you think it was that you had your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think we got lucky. I think we were blessed. Call it whatever you want, but I think you and I have similar values, similar styles in how we work. You already alluded to moving fast. I like to move in light speed. In fact, what I find is when you can solve problems quickly and you can handle challenges quickly and efficiently, it's in the best service of your customer, right? So I like to move quickly, and I think we kind of got lucky because we are, but personally speaking, we're faith based people. We're very professional. We're hardworking, and we care about people. and I think that showed up, and I think we were fortunate in how that worked out. Because I remember early, I think I first connected with you. You had left Rock Dental Brands, and you were at Gen Four
Yeah.
Dental Partners,
Yeah.
and real quick we linked up and started to do quarterly business reviews. Um, I think it was at Bridie Wingard who used to work
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
You
So
bet.
you looped her in at some point, and we were doing some pretty interesting things to meet your needs and to move fast and
Yeah.
efficient. And so I think those are some of the things that really helped us out.
Well, I'll also tell you, like, reflecting back at that time with Gen 4, you mentioned Bridie, right? We're talking kind of the procurement seat and you, but what we really had was also like a Laura and a Stacy on the hygiene side that you collaborated with a ton. So it was more than just us two on the same page. You, Esau, going to give you credit for this, you were able to connect with other individuals within Gen 4, right? Because that's huge. Like I can pound the drum as much as I want, but if a hygiene director doesn't buy into it, what does it mean? And I'll tell everyone all day, I didn't go to school for this. I don't have the education like you do on your side with your product. So linking you two and then you taking that and running with it was huge. With whatever they were trying to implement and using you to do that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And so I heard Brian Kaleo say it maybe a couple of years ago. It must have been at Dicom, or maybe it was a guest speaker at ADSO. But you know, basically vendors who make products and work in the DSO, DPO, strategic account space. You're basically working with procurement, or anybody, even for a local DSO who's responsible for procuring and buying, purchasing products, and you want to help the business and improve efficiency, right? Reduce their costs, increase their EBITDA, and you want to approach them from a business standpoint to help their business. And if you have clinical products like we do, I work on the hygiene side of Young Innovations. And before that, I was at Crosstex for years, and that was infection control. And I spent a stint 6 years at Septidon. I started my career with 3MSB. At the end of the day, you want to also always we're in healthcare. We're in the healing business. We take care of people. So you want to identify who is it on the team responsible for receiving that clinical message,
Yeah.
because you want to deliver the features and advantages and benefits and how we can improve um, healthy outcomes, patient outcomes, and include the life of clinicians, make things easier for them. So you want to deliver a business message, and you want to deliver a message of clinical efficacy, or improving healthy outcomes. And most manufacturers in the dental space can do that in one way or the other. And so that's right, we work with Stacy Sloan,
Hmm.
Laura Mordica.
Yep.
I still keep in touch with Stacy. I know she's a consultant. And we have on our team at Young specialists who happen to be hygienists who support us in that clinical messaging. And myself and a counterpart on the East Coast are focused on delivering
Yeah.
a business message.
That's awesome. But look, you talked about all these different ways that you're trying to help the business basically be successful, but you're learning. And you already said this, you like to listen, right? Listen to their needs. And that's one of the biggest things. Like, I'm so guilty of missing that too. Sometimes I just want to go, go, go. But taking that time, right? There's the three elements to really trying to help grow together. Sitting together, right? Listening to each other, but then asking questions, right? Don't assume what you want to assume, or assume what you think. Like, ask those questions. Like you said, you will follow up and like make sure this is what I heard. That sit, listen, ask are massive. And I think that's one of the reasons why, again, we work so well together, because you took the time to really understand what my organizations that I were at were trying to do, not just what Rick wanted, but Stacy, Laura, and they could speak from the clinical side. It's huge. And I'm so thankful that you brought that up today.
Right on.
Well, let's talk about it. We already dove into it. And we already talked about this some, but let's talk about working together some, right? Because we mentioned it already that our relationship, we didn't necessarily approach things the way others have, because we moved fast together. We clicked, and there was probably some divine flow with us, maybe, or something like that. But you know, when it comes to procurement, like what do you think? Let me see how to ask this. What do you think that we shared I think, as an organization that maybe really helped us perform better?
Well, so I think we each had very specific business objectives.
Uh-huh.
And for us, it was about, you know, sales. I'm in a sales function.
Yeah.
So obviously I want to grow my business. So I want to do that strategically, where I can meet needs and solve problems. Um, you and others, in groups, have to, there's a lot around efficiency. There's a lot around scaling. There's a lot of pressure to scale. You know, Lots of groups are owned by private equity, and there's pressure to meet certain financial goals. So I think getting to it quickly with sort of a focus. You want to focus and finish. And so that's why, like, I remember would do our QBRs, and we would always end with, is there anything that's new going on with you that we should know about? And sometimes you would say, well, yeah, acquired some offices, or we're doing this, or I'm going to be hiring somebody new to help me. This is before, you hired
Yep.
an associate, as you scale. And so it was very important for me to understand the ebbs and flows and sort of rhythm of your business, because then I was able to kind of, you know, um, push in front what would make sense that would help us both.
Yeah. No, I love that. And also, I know because of that kind of relationship, we were able to solve some challenges together for sure. Again, that's with our whole team. But I think in general, like, I don't want to necessarily, you don't have to answer this specifically for our own working relationship that we've had in the past, but specifically, like, where do you see yourself coming in to help solve challenges with someone? Because I think so many times these relationships, if we're not careful, can become strictly transactional. It's like, Isak, I just need the lowest price and get out of my hair. Right, and sometimes it can be like that, and I don't wanna speak for a lot of people that way, but I know it can be, but there's so many times that you've been able to help the business on my end, become more profitable, more successful, better in patient care, right, whatever those goals were, without touching price. And so what are those ways that I guess you can share experiences where you've been able to help accomplish that? It doesn't necessarily have to be us. If you wanna share something you remember of something that we did, by all means, but if there's something else that really comes to mind, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and again, maybe I should avoid talking details about the company I currently work for, but back in the day, I worked for a company called Crosstex International, and they had acquired a company called Dentapure. Awesome product. It actually filters the water and adds elemental iodine to the dental unit water lines. And this, Rick, was back in 2015 to 2018, and there were several breaches at the DSO level that made national news. There was one in Atlanta. I won't mention the name of the group. And that I'm talking made CNN, Fox News picked it up. There was one in Anaheim, California, and these breaches involved infections that kids got from tainted water.
Mm.
So I remember I had an opportunity. I was at that time a U.S. Special Markets Manager for Crosstex, which is now part of another different company. Um, and I had an opportunity to solve a problem on the East Coast with a DSO called Cool Smiles, which I think is part of Benevis now. And there were some challenges with bacteria count in the water. There were no issues, nothing had happened with them, but they wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
So immediately I got to talking to the procurement lead, the person who was in your role at
Mhm.
that DSO,
Yep.
to kind of identify, a best price point and what would make sense. I want to say at that time they had 120 locations. They were headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, but better than that, what we did was I got a hold of a product expert. He and I flew to an office at their recommendation, on the ground in Georgia. We pre-tested the water lines. They were 10 operatories with our own test that we provided. We waited 24 hours for the results of that baseline. We stood for several days, and then for free, at no cost as a service to the DSO, we put in free product in every bottle. Well, at the end of the day, we brought the CFU count colony forming units, the bacteria count in the water. I think we brought it down 80%. Now, now they some of their offices, some of their operatories were beyond where they should have been, but most were kind of in that range, but kind of teetering at the edge, and we wanted to avoid that. At the end of the day, we showed up, we listened, we offered support, we waited patiently to make sure we finished the finish what we were doing, and in the end it was they were so impressed. Needless to say, we got a conversion there, ended up getting the business, but the most important thing was to really understand their concerns and then to figure out a way how you could sort of customize a solution with what you're able to offer. In my organization now, we do that all the time. um we got a hygiene hand instrument called XB Square that's sharp and free. It's world class. It's made by our American Eagle team in Missoula, Montana, and it's sharp and free. And what that means is it's significantly less pressure on the hands and wrists of the clinician, and it's a lot it's a much more gentle procedure for patients. So it has so many clinical benefits. You never have to sharpen this. A lot of clinicians don't have the time,
Yeah,
frankly, to
yeah,
sharpen. I mean, it's kind of a quiet thing that nobody really wants to talk about because everyone's, rushing to, production, and
yeah,
but so anyway, so at Young, for sure, there's that and other examples and how we can make things better for patients, for clinicians, and then we have ways to ensure cost savings
yeah.
as well. So
Well, even I think I'm gonna be really honest.
uh
There
oh,
really
uh oh,
There's been so many times, and I've worked with such good people that I kind of feel bad for saying this, and I just kind of blew you guys off at times because I didn't want to say because look, there's so many you guys are product experts, right? And there's so many times, frankly, it just whoop, right, went right over my head. Like I'm not a doctor, whatever, dude. Like you say it's gonna help, cool. Let me like get some doctors try it. Like I don't need to hear the whole shebang about it. But I love what you just shared because there are so many times that the really good vendors, right? And there's way more good than there are on the other end of it, right? As far as the relationships with your reps that you have and all that, that will go the extra mile. They'll do the things beyond their job description. They will do the things that truly just help your organization. There's so many people, specifically in this dental space. I want to talk about dental space for a second.
yeah,
When
yeah,
I first joined dental, I was told you'll never leave it. I was told you may hop around, which I ended up becoming part of that demographic that hopped around. I'm now a statistic, but you will stay in dental. But there's so many that is so true that so many of the people that I worked with from day one are still in the space. Maybe they're somewhere different, or maybe they're where they're at. They've moved up where they're at. They've been content with what they're doing. Whatever it is, they have stayed because there is just this passion to like actually drive the space. And so there's so many times that because of my neglect, right, to say I don't want to have to sit on an hour long conversation. Like just send me the slides of our QBR, see where things are at. I'll give you my opinion, Isak. Like I've been guilty of that. And there's someone's gonna listen to this, like, yeah, that brother blew me off. Like they're gonna say it. But
it happens. I mean, you have to work through that.
yeah, there
Work
are,
through
but
that.
so many times on the other end, I'm like, man, I'm glad I sat through that conversation. I'm glad we talked about that because we got bullet point 1, 2, and 3 that we're about to take and run with. I'm going to get Isak with Stacy and Laura. This is probably how that started because I actually sat through a conversation. You started explaining things to me, right? Or
Yeah,
hey, we're gonna shift this, right? Oh, this new instrument that you just talked about, like, hey, we don't have to sharpen it as much, and it helps with the doctor. Like, hey, let's try this out. Like to different things again to build trust within the organization for myself, right? Of oh, you helped me learn about this new product or whatever it is. Like maybe we've done lunch and learns in the past. Like someone is like has offered a supplier has offered like, hey, we'll come into your office, talk about a product that's actually going to help them. It's a universal solvent, right? So you don't need all these different kinds. It's universal. We'll teach them on it, how to actually apply it, how it works, so on and so forth. You're reducing what you have on hand. You're buying less. Everyone's happy. Oh, and we're bringing lunch in. Who doesn't like lunch, right? Just those little things to get the offices some appreciation too at the same time. They go well beyond you saving me 50 cents on a product, right? And so that's where I learned the hard way a little bit of blowing some of those meetings off of like, "Hey, just get me the price, Isak, like, get me this," and then I've learned, no, if I actually listen to what this brother has to say, he's got some good stuff. Right, and then you start to form these relationships as well. Again, people circle around, let's be frank, and so what happens is someone goes to a different organization, and then they've got something to bring from there, but you've already got that relationship established and all those things that can transpire from there that just helps elevate your DSO or you're even if you're a single location, establishing those relationships now. Don't just buy it from Henry Schein. I love our Henry Schein team. I love our Patterson teams. I've got good friends on all those sides, but get to know those manufacturers as well. It's huge because they have so much they can do for you as well, and that they're willing to do and that they want to do. I'm off my soapbox. We good there?
No, no, I love it, and you got me. I'm thinking. You got me thinking about a lot of things. So it was interesting when I went and I wanted to grow my career. So I said, "What the heck? Let me see about getting an MBA." Where are some of my where are some of my blind spots? I started out college on a 4-year theater scholarship, believe it or not, and then ultimately got a degree in marketing and was in a sales internship at 3M in the summers during college in Washington, D.C. And then they hired me and relocated me to San Diego, California in 94 is how I got to California. Um, but as I grew in business, you know, so much from my senior leadership was about, the sales goals and we got to hit these targets and, we've got to drive profitable growth, which is critical, of course.
Of course.
But then I started to learn about things like emotional intelligence.
Mm,
Emotional intelligence. I never heard that term, man, until holy cow, I think it must have been 2018. I'm in a leadership class in grad school, and the professor starts to talk about this, and I said, "Wow, like this makes a lot of sense." Like, because there's an emotional intelligence is your personal competence and your relationship competence, right? Your personal competence is your self awareness, your self management.
mhm.
Your relationship competence is your relationship management, your relationship awareness, and at the end of the day, it's all rooted in self improvement, knowing who you are, caring about other people. There's a really good book that John Maxwell he wrote a bunch of them, but one of them is "Everybody Communicates, Few Connect."
Mm, yeah.
Everybody communicates, few connect. And I remember he talks about how when you make a commitment, you plant a seed of hope. But when you deliver on that commitment is when the trust
Yeah.
starts to build. So a
100%.
lot of that stuff that's kind of, people call them soft skills. It's almost I don't they should not I don't they might be hard skills because it's tough to be introspective and to really delve into that stuff. And so that learning about all that changed my life and the trajectory of my career.
Man, I love that. I'm so glad you shared that because it's such good insight just for someone in the seat regardless, right? When you think of the procurement seat or any really, executive in an organization, right? The idea of, frankly, it's not all about me. Can I just say it that way? Like, is that
Yeah,
okay? It's not
yeah,
all about me. It's
right.
not all about Rick. Like, there's so many other things that align more than just what Rick wants. And when you can
Yeah,
be aware of those, right? That's that personal right level of like I can be self-aware of what's going on, so on and so forth, with myself. But then on the other end of it, just the relationships and like, hey, Isak, like that's what I love about us too here. Like you're gonna talk about your kids and vice versa, like your son and like you talking about just even earlier, like last week, talking about him playing basketball and all those things. Like getting to have those conversations, the human element's huge because it goes so much beyond just this work relationship. And so I'm thankful for that, just the people that I've been able to establish those with. Maybe those don't always line up on paper, but when I'm not just calling ESOC when there's a problem, right? Treating everything like it's a
yeah,
negotiation, right? You talk
yeah.
about that communication. It's we're not just communicating, right? We're actually at that point really connecting, and that's when
Connecting.
real cool things can happen because there's trust on all
So
ends.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man,
There's another good book called Crucial Accountability. That one's really good. Talks about aligning around mutual purpose.
Mm,
and identifying mutual purpose. And maybe it's okay, we want to grow each other's business. And then how do we go about doing that? But it's hard to do that with a villain.
mm,
It's much easier to do that with a human being. And that's a quote from that book, Crucial Accountability. And so it speaks to everything you just said, recognizing the humanity that, I mean, there's human beings behind these spreadsheets, these data points,
yeah,
right? I mean, these are numbers on a page for a lot of people, but when you tap into the fact that these are real people with real needs, real issues, real concerns, patients in our world that are being impacted by that,
yeah,
um, it's um, it's powerful. And I think when you start to have, I think it starts with a mindset. It
yeah,
all starts with that mindset. You start to think differently. Someone just told me not too long ago. This is a personal thing. I won't get into the details, but it actually was a parent on my son's basketball team. Somebody said something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I didn't say anything, but I was kind of irritated. But really, behind the person's comment, the person really meant well. It just came out
yeah,
wrong. Right? But what I did was I got all upset and I got quiet and I didn't really talk to hardly anybody for 20, 30 minutes. But then somebody said to me, "You know what? When that happens, take a beat, um, and just try to be, emotional intelligence.
mhm,
Be self-aware. Try to empathize with maybe where that came from. And when you do that, more times than not, you can identify the humanity in the other person, and then even subconsciously, it impacts the energy flow.
yeah,
And people can feel. You may not
yeah,
say something, but people can feel some. If you feel some kind of way about something,
yeah,
people can feel it, whether
oh,
you
yeah,
say it or not. And so
oh, yeah,
people have to be aware. And I'm high energy, always have been. Personally speaking, I've had to learn how to really be aware of my energy,
yeah,
myself. Even when I'm talking to you and I see how animated I am and my eyes and everything, I'm like, good Lord, let me calm down, and I am calm. But the thing is, these are the kinds of things that you have to be aware of, because I work with a lot of analyticals, right?
mhm,
I'm probably an expressive driver, driving expressive, but I work with a lot of analytical drivers, driving analyticals, and these people are facts and data, facts and data, facts and data, and that's good. You need that. But and so you have to I have to learn,
yeah.
to continue to learn and work on getting people what they need so they hear it how they need to hear it so we can win together.
Yeah, 100%. Right, and I think I only laugh so hard because I sympathize. That's me to a T. Right? I mean, how like, I am one that I can wear my emotions on my sleeves a lot of
Yeah.
times too, so you know exactly where Rick's at. There's no surprises, and that's not
That's
always
another reason we probably
yeah.
we
I mean,
yeah,
it's a strength and a weakness, right, at the same time, like, and it's something that I'm trying to be better at. But let's go back to, like, tying that in, like, this is good stuff, but let's go back to tying in because one of the things that I'm interested to hear from you, and I think it'd be good for our audience is what can prevent you from bringing your best idea to the table with someone in my seat or a DSO, right? Is there something I know we just got done talking about trust a lot and
yeah,
just that
yeah.
whole piece, and maybe that's it, but is there something specific that you're like, I just don't think I can bring what we can truly offer best to the table because of this? This is
Yeah.
your chance to call out all your customers right now. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But
No, you know what happens in our world, it could quick and in a hurry get into what can feel like an adversarial dynamic, right? Oh, another vendor trying to sell me something,
yeah,
and then the vendor person is like, listen, I'm busy, I got 200 locations, give me your best price,
yeah,
and then we'll talk. And so it's, the vendor being afraid, feeling insecure, maybe feeling some rejection and saying, oh, I want to win something. Let me just go in with my very lowest pricing and, forget about trying to plant a seed and get them to understand maybe where you can be unique in
yeah,
the offering, unlike anybody else can. And we'll definitely help you with price, but we may not be the lowest price, but we'll be the best solution for what you need. So I think just being, I think in my experience, listen, a lot of procurement folks are under the gun. They're under a lot of pressure. So I understand where a lot of them come from, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But if procurement folks could be open minded and give a vendor a chance at least for a bit to see um to see what they have to say and make sure that they care more than just the lowest priced. I think that's something I would say.
Yeah.
And then there's things with vendors that we can do better as well.
Yeah.
You know,
No, there's both ends. There's overselling and undelivering on both ends. Like I tell you, hey, yeah, we're gonna buy X amount of product and we don't sniff it. Right. You
yeah,
tell me you're gonna do this for me, we don't sniff it. Right. But that's just because of that. I think it was Joe Crowd. I think our very first episode we talked about this. But we broke down the word division, right? Because when those two things happen, you can see division in the partnership. But division is really like if you break down the word, the die, which is two, and then vision. It's two different visions. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I've got best price in mind. You've got, I want to infiltrate all these offices and get our product on their shelves and make a better outcome, right? If that's our two perspectives, we're not aligned at the end of the day. And so
yeah,
if something doesn't go right, there's division there. And so I think that's important what you just shared. Because at the end of the day, just that mutual peace, and I know that's basically been the theme of our time today, just that mutual understanding, mutual relationship that we're in it for each other's best interests on both ends. That's
yeah.
when something can really happen and something really special can happen for an organization on both ends.
And
Um,
to be transparent, to be honest, like,
yeah,
and you were like that with me from jump. I mean, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is where we're going, what I want, this is maybe how you can help me. And you were transparent. And I hope I was that way with
yeah,
you as well. And I think when parties are transparent, as much as you can be. I mean, you don't want to, tell the company secrets, right? But you want to share where you're vulnerable, where you're strong, how you can maybe help me. If you could do that, great. Let's do it together. And then you start to make progress
yeah.
and start to happen.
Well, frankly, too, I'll go back to being honest. Sometimes I'd have those conversations up front because I just got done saying I didn't always want to have those hour-long initial meetings. I also didn't want you calling me back 6 months later and saying what I said wasn't true. I didn't want that. And so I just figure if I just tell it now,
Yeah,
don't call me 6 months later telling me I said something different because I was
no
very
problem.
honest and maybe I didn't maybe have the best mindset when I was saying that. Frankly, I've grown a little bit, but before it's just like I don't want to have to talk to this guy again. I like him, but here we
I
go.
got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. Yeah,
So if
yeah,
I just say it now, we're
yeah,
good. Because if you call me later and say, "Hey, you told me like we'll be in 100 offices and you're only in 50," I'm like, "Well, no, actually, I said it's highly unlikely. Frankly, I would try my best, but here's where we're at, and here's how we go about it."
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, mine is partly out of I just didn't want to have another meeting. So hand up, I'll admit it. Oh man, look, this has been fun. I got some lightning round little questions I love to run through. And again, some of these you probably already answered, but let's do it anyways. First one, ESOC. One word that defines a great partnership. Give me one word.
Trust.
I knew it. I think the whole audience could have guessed that one. What's the biggest misconception from people on your end about procurement? People in my seat.
That all they care about is the lowest price.
Hmm. So what you're
Because
saying on that is that the majority on the other end really do tend to care about forming something strong relationship wise.
yeah, and not only that, but I mean, yeah, you wanted to save your organization money, but you cared about improving the output for your clinicians, the working conditions for your team, the operational efficiency of your group. I mean, you weren't just a guy or a gal, wanting the cheapest price for everything there
Yeah.
is. You wanted the best value.
Yeah. Good job, procurement leaders. Um, all right, biggest misconception about vendors. People are like what from me to you. What do you think is seen as the biggest misconception?
It's that used car salesman mentality that all we're out to do is sell you something even at your even to your detriment.
Mm,
I think some people think, oh God, another salesperson. This guy's going to sell me something, even if it brings the whole roof crumbling in. And I think there's a lot of us that actually really care about people. We care about being of service. And like for me personally in sales, my entire career, 30 years in sales, 20 years in dental, it's always been rooted in being of service. Because when I'm in service, the service of others, I usually ring the register. I usually ring the register. Usually make money for my company, for myself, and things usually go right.
yeah, just doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Last one. What's one thing, if you could give one recommendation to every procurement leader, all your 40 DSOs, any on the East Coast, anyone that you haven't worked with, one you work with, if you could give them one thing to start doing tomorrow, what would it be?
Um, be open minded.
Open minded.
Immediately, your mindset.
Yeah.
Have an open mindset to listening to unique and interesting alternatives and being open to talking to vendors. Listen, worst case scenario, you're talking to somebody or you start a video.
Mm,
Oh, something came up. I gotta get out of this meeting or I gotta pivot. There's all kinds of creative ways to get out of you gotta get out of something, but give people a chance.
yeah. Love it. Any closing thoughts from you? I'll give you the floor. Anything else you want to share?
I think the dental industry at this point in time is in a really exciting place.
Yeah.
We see the scaling and onboarding of artificial intelligence in recent years, digital dentistry, lots of really exciting things happening. Medical is kind of creeping into
Mhm.
our world and how things are done at the group space, GPO models and such, cost plus models, all this kind of stuff. PDS Health, man, I've been working with them for years. They're all about whole body, oral mouth connection, the
Yeah.
body mouth connection, and I think that theme is growing in popularity and necessity in our world, and because the oral cavity is the gateway to the body, right? So it's I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity and a lot more innovation around treating patients holistically through dentistry.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you brought that up. I had a doctor in my last group, Dr. Jigar Gandhi, awesome friend of mine. At this point, that was big on him. The holistic side of like treating the mouth to the body and what
Yes,
that
sir.
can do. And so I'm glad you brought that up just as that
Yes,
piece
sir.
as we continue to develop. But you're right, it's an exciting time in dental. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of opportunities. You can see it one way or the other. It can be scary. So many people can sometimes be scared of the implementation of AI and what that can do. And I always jokingly say, like, farmers in the 1800s never thought there'd be someone who, like, grooms dogs for a living now. But what that does is just create opportunities, right? And so
That's so
I'm
true.
so
That's so funny.
and so, yes, there's the ebbs and flows of it, but man, there's so much exciting stuff going on in this industry, and I'm thankful to be a part of it and to meet people like you, Isak, and just call you a friend. So thank you for joining
Thank,
me today,
thank you,
and
sir.
thanks to everyone who's listened in today. Look, again, if we take anything away from the conversation, it's just the trust factor between a vendor and a procurement seat. If we can build that in a true relationship, right? Shared goals, communicate openly, create accountability on both sides, everyone wins. The organization wins, the vendor wins, and ultimately, it's our all of our goals. The patient wins when we serve them well, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
so
Yes, sir.
let's just try to do that today, y'all. And thank you again for joining us. We look forward to the next episode. Thank you again, Isak.
Thanks, Rick. Great to be with you.